This whole idea of shutting down speech is abhorrent to me, to Americans. It is the exact opposite of who we are. So hell no is my answer.
If you sit there and let people just say nonsense, open like Nazi apologia, that is on you.
If Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name.
Yeah, so never listen to Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson. It's of course, a way of trying to cancel them. Anyone who talks to them, especially about Israel, should be canceled forever and ever and ever. So I think this is going to backfire spectacularly. And I think that the Israel First crowd has completely lost it. And we're going to show you clips of Tucker Carlson kicking his ass, in my opinion. But Jordan and I also have slightly different takes on this. First, let Jordan give you the facts and then we'll discuss it.
So Ben Shapiro kicked off Turning Point's AmericaFest last night by going scorched earth on, as you saw, Candace Owens and, as Cenk mentioned, Tucker Carlson. Owens just met with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, this week to privately discuss her claims about Charlie's death. And we've got more, including from Ben and Tucker, like you mentioned. But on this point, him calling out Candace Owens, we saw that conversation, Cenk, this week between Candace and Erica. How do you feel about Ben opening up this festival, this convention, by singling out Candace Owens specifically?
So the Candace Owens, look, I saw a video of hers recently that was totally unhinged, right? So I get the concerns about her for sure. But if it was just, hey, there's this unhinged person and she has some theories that might be true and some that are outlandish and totally false and etc. Okay, but I'm supposed to believe that it's a coincidence that Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are attacking everyone who criticizes Israel on the right and putting them in the same bucket? No, it's not a coincidence. They're obsessed with Israel. That's all they ever care about. And that's what 100% of this fight is about.
Well, from there, Shapiro turned his attention to people who turn a blind eye to Candace Owens because they're friends and called them cowards. Take a look at this.
To take again the Candace Owens situation as an example, friendship with public figures who say or do evil things is not an excuse for silence on the matter. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice.
Then he zeroed in on Tucker specifically for some of his podcast guests.
If you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes, you know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the vice president of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a the person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and f***ed it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it.
He also brought up pseudo-historian Daryl Cooper, who, while on Tucker's show, tried distorting the facts around the Nazis' actions in World War II and called Winston Churchill the chief villain of the war. Tucker introduced him on that episode as, quote, the best and most honest popular historian in the United States. But some people will defend hosting guests like that under the guise of they're just asking questions.
Hosts are indeed responsible for the guests they choose and the questions they ask those guests. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just asking questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. Just asking questions is something my 5-year-old does, and it's really cute when it comes from my 5-year-old. But when grown men and women spend their days just asking questions without, seeking answers, they are lying to you.
Shortly after that, Tucker Carlson took the stage after initially joking that he missed the beginning of the program, he responded.
But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole like Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate.
And he explained his approach more, which he took from Charlie Kirk.
People should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
Now, Cenk, I think you and I might have different views here. What are your thoughts on this very public fight between these two?
I'm definitely on Tucker Carlson's side on this issue. And Ben Shapiro wants us to show courage and to not just ask questions, but make statements. Oh, I'll be your Huckleberry. The problem is the Israelis. So there, I said it. Are you happy now? And I'll prove it to you, and then we'll have this discussion. First of all, the Israelis are the ones that demand that people, different countries throughout the world, Western nations and America, pass laws prohibiting speech. So don't let anyone discuss this. Don't let anyone discuss that. Don't let them say this. They made up this nonsense definition of anti-Semitism that includes criticizing Israel. What is that? That's a way of making criticism of Israel illegal. That's what thugs do. That's what authoritarian rule looks like. So I'm super clear. Okay, now let's turn to some of the people that he's mentioning. Candace Owens, look, some of the videos she points out and some of the things she says about Charlie Kirk's killing is true and is said by others, okay? So just the fact that Candace Owens said it doesn't make it invalid in and of itself, and it's over. Since she said it, you're no one else allowed to say it. No, that's not irrational and is not true. Now, can I at the same time say, yeah, other things that Candace Owens says to me sound crazy, okay? But do I have to go and denounce her? Do we all have to do like these rituals? And should we bring, some sort of witch paraphernalia so we can get the right, fire going for these witch hunts? So for Tucker Carlson, there's plenty of things he says that I don't agree with, right? But is he right about Israel? Yeah, absolutely. Is he right about freedom of speech? Absolutely. And then what does Ben Shapiro do? Everyone must denounce all enemies of Israel. Okay, yeah, a couple of them say crazy stuff. That gets you to Fuentes. So, oh no, nobody talked to Fuentes. Why? So Piers Morgan talked to him, and Piers Morgan did a very aggressive interview, and he got him on the record on a couple of important things. I like Piers a lot, and I don't know if I'm among the few, but I do. I have a relationship with him, and I think he does an interesting show that winds up getting us a lot of information and points of view we wouldn't have gotten before. But I would have been actually a little bit more aggressive with Fuentes. I don't know about aggressive in tone, more in terms of the type of questioning that happened. But so what? It wasn't my show. Who cares if he talks to Fuentes? Like, I'm not gonna ban that. That's insane, right? And then, okay, so Tucker talks to some World War II expert that I don't agree with at all. I took a class on international war crimes back when I was going to law school, and I was so lucky I had one of the Nuremberg prosecutors as my professor. He was in his 90s, okay? So I got to see some of the evidence about the war crimes in World War II and the Holocaust myself, and so I don't agree with those historians. Am I going to denounce Tucker for talking to them? No, I'm not going to. And so who cares if he talks to them? Who cares if they're wrong? This whole idea of shutting down speech is abhorrent to me, to Americans. It is the exact opposite of who we are. So hell no is my answer.
Two things here. So let's start with the historian. It's not that he just talked to him. He agreed with him and called him honest. I don't think you would agree that someone saying that Winston Churchill was the chief villain of World War II is being honest. I mean, you just talked about your own educational experience, and I think we can all recognize that what happened. What's that?
I don't agree, Jordan. So I don't agree with him. I'm on your side on the content and the substance. Doesn't mean he's not honest. Maybe he does honestly think that Churchill was a part of it. I think that's wild. I don't think that's true at all.
There's another side to that.
So what if he thinks that?
Downplaying the actions of the Nazis? That's a
now
big.
You're saying that that's downplaying the actions of the Nazis, and maybe it is.
In addition to that, I don't have the exact examples. This is an hour-long conversation. This was a widely criticized interview.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to ban him? Should we just ban him?
That's not what I'm saying.
So tell me what you're saying then.
You're jumping to conclusions. I think that's the framing that you want, but that's not even what Ben Shapiro was saying. He's saying if you're going to have these people on, own it. And Tucker isn't doing that. Tucker will say, we're just having, what about having a conversation? If you sit there and let people just say nonsense, open like Nazi apologia, that is on you. You're not just having a conversation, you're letting them spread hate to whatever your audience size is. And I think for Tucker, he wants to share an audience with people like Fuentes. That's his goal. That's why he didn't push back, and Piers Morgan did. Piers Morgan doesn't care if Nick Fuentes' fans watch his show. That's why he was willing to play back clips of Nick Fuentes saying openly anti-Semitic, openly racist, openly sexist stuff. He didn't care. Tucker does, because he wants part of that audience. For him, it's about views, clicks, and profit. So for him to throw his hands up, just a debate. Where's the debate, brother? You're not pushing back. You're just letting him say whatever he wants and nodding. That's not a debate.
So what do you want him to do, Jordan? You want him to just do the show you want and
like
not the show he wants?
That is how you conduct an interview. You don't just
so you
criticize mainstream media constantly for letting establishment Democrats go on air, say absolute BS about healthcare, never push back, but suddenly Tucker is, what is he supposed to do? Ask questions.
Yeah.
The universal standard.
Jordan, so you didn't like the way he conducted the interview. So what?
It wasn't an interview. He just nodded and agreed.
So what? So what?
So what when the mainstream media turns a blind eye to Democrats taking corporate donations? So what? So what are they supposed to do, Cenk? You don't like the way they're conducting the interview.
No. When the New York Times writes a good investigative story, which happens very rarely, but we cover it and we give them credit where credit is due. And then when they cover stories, they cover up for Epstein as they just did. They cover up for Israel as they do almost every time. Then we lambast them and we criticize them over it. Okay, so on Tucker, I don't agree with him on this World War II nonsense, okay? And I don't agree with him on a number of things, including what he said about Somali immigrants recently. And I agree with what he's saying about free speech and Israel. So what? Okay, so we just did it. So what else do I need to do? Do I need to slap him? Do I need to ritualistically denounce him? What do I need to do? And Jordan, you missed that every single one of these targets are people who criticized Israel, and we're all supposed to reach.
There are Jews on the left who criticize Tucker for the same thing.
Hold on. Are we all supposed to ritualistically target and destroy all opponents of Israel because we found something else they said that was wrong? Okay, perfect opportunity. Let's go destroy everyone who doesn't agree with Israel. My answer is hell no, F no, no way. And it's not a coincidence, and it doesn't have to do with anti-Semitism. It has to do with destroying the opponents of Israel, and you're being super dense if you don't see that. Tell me you don't see that. Tell me that that's not the connective tissue.
There are plenty of people on the left who also criticize them for the same things. Are they also doing it at the behest of Israel?
Criticizing Tucker Carlson, etc.? No, yes. They're playing into it like suckers.
Like, yeah, Jewish lefties, if not now, people like that. Those are the people who are criticizing. They're suckers for criticizing Tucker for having.
No, not for criticizing him. I just criticized them. No, I just criticized them. You could criticize any particular issue, any disagreement you have. That's called freedom, no problem. But this whole ritualistic denouncement, and no one should go on their shows, no one should ever talk to them. And don't tell me that's not what Ben Shapiro is asking for. He's definitively asking for that, and he's asked for it this entire time. Megyn Kelly, you're gonna get canceled if you better never talk to Candace. You better never talk to Tucker Carlson. Well, I'm not gonna respond to, I'm not gonna give in to those thugs. Then I'm not gonna let him cancel everyone who criticizes Israel. And if you're helping them do that, I'm sorry, yeah, you're a sucker for Israeli propaganda.
The pro-Palestinian left, who also separately criticizes these right-wing figures for after years of bigotry, years of Islamophobia, suddenly seeing a window for gathering or garnering a new audience rooted in anti-Semitism. That's just, yes, we gotta just turn a blind eye to it because they happen to, on the surface level, agree with us.
Oh, look, there's no critics of Israel left. Oh, what a coincidence, especially on the right wing.
Plenty of critics.
They don't care about the left wing, Jordan.
There's plenty of critics of Israel on the left.
Yeah, but how much of an effect have we had?
What has Tucker done?
What has
he accomplished other than talk?
Jordan, are you seriously not noticing the massive effect that Tucker Carlson has had on getting the right wing to realize that Israel is not our ally, that they've taken 300 billion off us? They want another 100 billion. They want another 100 billion for a 20-year memorandum of understanding. They're trying to rob us of that money as we speak. Tucker Carlson is the most effective opponent of that robbery. I will under no circumstances cancel that brother who is doing amazing work on that issue. And then I will have no compunctions about criticizing him on other issues that I disagree with him on. Not complicated. Whereas apparently you're falling back to, that's it, illegitimate, that shut down the most effective fighter against Israeli oppression in this country from the right. The right wing matters. If you only have the left wing, we'll never be able to defeat the Israel first crowd. You have to have the left wing and the right wing working together on the right project. Now, when Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes talk about the Jews, it drives me crazy. It's so wrong, it's factually incorrect, it's immoral, it doesn't make sense. We should only be talking about Israel. Now you say Tucker does that imperfectly. Fine, he does it imperfectly. No, I'm not gonna denounce or cancel or do any of those things. And by the way, Jordan, you have the luxury, and everybody else has the luxury of being able to say, oh, okay, he says something offensive about Jews or this or that. Okay, that's it. Well, he's also said good things about Muslims, which no one does, no one. And I'm supposed to cancel one of our few allies because they slightly offended Israeli interests? No, I'm not doing it. The minute that anyone in mainstream media says anything that's as positive about Muslims as Tucker Carlson has, then I'll listen to them. But those are giant bigots that hate Muslims, that drive hatred towards us on behalf of Israel. And I'm not gonna play their game and go, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. Of course, sir, go back to crushing my people, sir. No, I'm not gonna do it. No, my people are not inferior. And we don't have to give away our rights and our speech and our allies to appease people who love Israel. No deal.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.